Okay. Good evening, everyone. At 6 o'clock, we'll start the Board of Finance special meeting this evening. Call to order and roll call. We have Steve Herbert on Zoom. Brian Lynch is also on Zoom. And in the room, we have Dave and Rob. So we do have a quorum. I don't see Larry or Nikki. Okay, so the four of us. Our next topic, number 2, is a request from the Board of Selectmen for $5,525 for emergency repairs to the Teague building. Yes, Dave.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the request from the Board of Selectmen for $5,525 for emergent repairs as indicated by Teague and the Board of Selectmen to be taken from contingency.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Dave, for the motion. Thank you, Brian, for the second. Is there any discussion on the topic? Any discussion on the topic? I'm assuming that I added these up to going with option 1. It was 1,000 more. And does Teague pay the first $1,000?
$500 per repair,
Okay,
according to the lease.
okay. I just did some quick math and it added up to 6,525, but that's the delta. Okay. Any other discussion? On Zoom, Steve, Brian, any discussion on the topic?
Nope.
No, but Ann Miller's,
Okay.
maybe she could touch on the need, if anybody needs to know.
Sorry, Steve, one more time.
Ann Miller's on Zoom, and if you have a question about it, I think she could address the issue.
Okay, good evening, Ann. I didn't hear any questions yet, but good to know you're there.
See, I'm here. I'm here for you.
Okay, perfect. Any other discussion or questions? Okay, if there's none, we'll vote, and since we're spending money, we'll do it individually. Dave, how do you vote?
Yes,
Steve, how do you vote?
Yes,
Brian, how do you vote?
Yes,
And Rob Wurge, I'll vote yes. So this passes 4-0. We have a motion to adjourn.
so moved.
second.
Motion, Brian seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. 3.5 minutes. And I was talking slow. Can we start early or do we need to wait till 6:15?
No, we.
It says
posted
following.
Following the meeting.
It
so
said
we can start
following.
anytime.
How perfect is that? I was thinking of that. Okay, so we'll move into our meeting following the meeting. This would be a joint special meeting of the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Finance. Amy and I decided to split the meetings in terms of sharing them, and she did the first one, I did the second one. I'm doing the third one back to back because I may run into some challenges on Thursday. I'll be here, but I may be a little bit late, so this works out very well. So call to order the meeting at 6:04 p.m. And for roll call, we have the same Board of Finance members here. I didn't see anyone else joining. As far as selectmen, Amy, you're here, and who's online? It's just
I'll
hard
have
to see.
both Suzanne and Ken.
I see Suzanne,
So we have our full board.
and where's Ken? There's Ken up in the corner. Okay, so we have all 3 selectmen and 4 from the Board of Finance. I'll name them for the record because it is a new
Yeah.
meeting. Brian Lynch, Steve Herbert, Dave Johnson, and Rob Wurge. Next, item 3 is citizen comments, and we'll start in the room first. There's quite a few people online, but we'll start in the room first. Are there any citizens' comments in the room? Yes, please state your name and your address for the record.
685 Fabian Road. I've been coming to these meetings, using the Board of Ed meetings for a while, and almost every meeting it comes up with the unfunded mandates and how it's costing the town millions of dollars. So I figured since we have the selectmen and the Board of Finance, I would throw this idea out there tonight. Been noodling it around a little bit. They say the squeaky wheel gets the grease, and we have nobody doing anything in Hartford except for our senator and rep who haven't gotten anything done for us yet. So I was thinking if we could spend, I don't even know if this is legal, If we could spend a couple $100,000 per year on a lobbyist to be down there fighting for us, it seems to me that even if he's there for a few years, he would pay for himself that first year when we got some of these unfunded mandates taken care of and they start funding the schools properly. out there. I just wanted to throw that out there.
Okay, thank you. I didn't catch your name and Dottie might not have caught it for the record. I'm closer than Dottie, so do you mind saying your name?
Peter Beck.
Peter Beck. Thank you. Any other citizen comments from anyone here in the group? Yes, please state your name and address.
Jessica Bolte, 1081 Riverside Drive. I just wanted to invite the members of the Board of Finance. PTO is having a celebrity bartender event on Cities on September 24th from 6 to 9 for a playground project. We would love to see you there.
And where is that? I didn't hear it.
Cities in Dudley,
Sydney's in Dudley. Okay,
Did you say September?
this Saturday, the
Okay.
24th.
Saturday, 20th. Saturday. Thank you. Any other citizen comments from the room? Citizen comments? Okay, we'll move to Zoom. Are there any citizens on Zoom that would like to make a comment at this time? Citizen comments on Zoom. Okay, and just as a reminder, as we go through each of the budget presentations, we will pause. We decided that early on and part of the process. We'll pause and open up for citizen comments throughout the process based on what we've heard from the different budget sections. Okay, so if there's no further citizens' comments, we'll close those and we'll move on to our budget presentations. Item 4, we're starting with 4A, and that's Teague, and that'll be led by Ann Miller. Ann, the floor is yours.
Thank you. So I have provided you with a narrative and with a several sheets of data as to services that we're performing for the town. And the year that we are reporting on is the 22-23 fiscal year. We're in the 23-24, and we are asking for the 24-25 fiscal year. So the only frustration with that on my part is that we're asking for a year before where we are. Things have actually changed in Thompson. As you, well, I don't think all of you have this, so I think it might be easier for me to quickly just read through it to clarify it. For 22-23, the total service value was $802,806 to the town. The year before that was $550,555. That's a very significant increase. And then in the 6 months, which takes us up to 12/31/23, the total value of service for the town of Thompson was $696,060. The increase in the value of services in 22-23 was clearly significant, and the 6-month data shows an even steeper growth. We've seen 134 new households in fiscal year 22-23, and an additional 83 in the 6 months that followed. Of interesting note, we served 675 households in Thompson and 1,629 individuals in that time period. Pandemic supports have ended and inflation is still affecting the people we serve. We continue to offer multiple visits to our 3 local markets as is needed for our guests. However, limited food resources have forced us to reduce that to twice a month. Thompson residents can receive food at our North Grosvenordale, Pomfret, and Woodstock mobile sites. They actually received $51,250 worth of food in that year from our Pomfret and Woodstock sites, and that's out of the $517,399 worth of food that they received. Thompson seniors received $11,800 in adult care supplies in a 1-year period, and the total service value for seniors less food is $36,493. We don't record our food in age groups, so I will tell you that a significant number of people who come to us are seniors who are on limited budgets. The youth who face our juvenile review board are served by our attendance mentoring program or any of the other Youth Service Bureau programs. That was a total of $41,797 in services, and we provided $53,232 in early childhood services. One of our biggest program areas is our hand-in-hand program, which readies young students, young families to have students arrive ready to learn in preschool and kindergarten. Our case management services have been stretched very thin in the past few years, but we're able to use money from Woodstock and Pomfret to increase case management capacity, therefore moving case managers into that area and allowing more time for Thompson residents. Our senior service program assistant steps in to help about 10 hours a week serving seniors in those areas. Our plan for the coming year is to continue to, of course, meet the needs in Thompson and to help stabilize and stretch the budgets that are affected. Together, I think that we can make a difference. We've really reached in deep in some of our cases, understanding that Teague is really that middle ground, not served by the large agencies, not served by the state. We've struggled. We are a service agency that DCF uses often. So we're doing a lot of youth work in that way. We're working hard with DCF to make sure that they can hold their end of what they need to do up. But it's a struggle. We do all of this with about 14 employees, and then we have youth mentors that work 2 to 3 hours a week with our youth directly. But we really are stretched very, very thin. Most days the lunchroom is empty, or there's 1 or 2 people that can afford to come in at that time. Thompson contributed 6.3% of the service value in 22-23. You funded social services at $46,965, youth services at $4,000 for a total contribution of $50,965. We also list the $5,000 for our work in the school net readiness grant, and then you make available to us $5,000 for fuel assistance for town residents. 12% of the value of service would be $96,337. We understand that this would be significant. We're really hoping that all of our towns can work toward that 12% value of services. That's what we're asking towns to do. Pomfret already exceeds that. But Thompson and Woodstock are about the same. And we felt that if we asked everybody to aim for 12%, that would be the goal. The good thing about that is, as services drop, which if the economy improves, I hope and believe that they will, we're already seeing a leveling off in Pomfret. And if we're doing our job to support people and get them back on track, our hope is that the services will drop. And then that 12% would be reflected in that service value every year, meaning that in the town of Thompson, that could drop. So knowing that asking for a $50,000 increase in what you're giving us would be much more significant than what the town could do, we're asking that you work toward that 12%, that you do what you can. I made an original ask, and that was that we would take the same amount of services, the same amount of money for the same amount of services. We're asking that the town begin there. Amy and I have talked a little bit about the fact that we do offer recovery services, and maybe some of the opioid money could be applied there. So that is our ask. We love the town of Thompson. We love working in the town of Thompson. We do offer a significant amount of services to a really large part of your population. We do feel like we're making a difference. It's great work. I'm grateful to have it. This will likely be my last meeting asking you for money, as I'm going to be retiring toward the end of this year. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you. Thank you, Ann. Any
Thank you.
questions from the Board of Selectmen or the Board of Finance? Any comments?
I did want to add one thing, if I may.
Yes.
The total value of services in the other towns, I just thought that might be interesting to folks. We served, so I told you that we served 675 households in Thompson. We served 174 in Pomfret and 183 in Woodstock. So there's quite a difference there, and it's $229,079 of value in Pomfret, and that includes their senior center. We run a senior center for them, and $280,093 in the town of Woodstock. So I did want to add that in just because I thought it would be.
And this is Ken.
Hi, Ken.
How you doing? A quick question for you. We know that food, oil assistance, those type of things are, because of the economy, are very important, and you see this spike. Are we seeing anything else that is spiking, which is not with the juvenile, whatever it may be that,
Yeah.
those challenges you're facing?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. What we're seeing in the Juvenile Review Board now is much different than what we saw even a few years ago. The pandemic has had a really heavy toll on our youth. Overall, we're seeing more people needing mental health supports. We do run a bridge program. We don't really have any funding for this program. We fundraise for this program, but we have one counselor who's working with mainly our youth so that when they do need, when they find that they do need mental health services and so little is available, that counselor can jump in and work with them for 6 to 8 weeks while she connects them to other services. So that's something that we've really felt we had to put in place because the situation felt emergent. We're also seeing a lot of people who are just falling off the edge with housing. The deputy housing commissioner is going to be at Teague tomorrow at 11 o'clock. If anybody has an interest, it's an open meeting. But we are supporting when a family or an individual comes to us and says that they are struggling to pay their rent, the first thing that we do is to try to stabilize that family immediately. That becomes number one. If we can keep them housed, they are much more likely to be successful. If they become homeless, it's a much, much heavier lift. So we work very intensely. We're working with families right now in town to keep them housed. And we also have families who are unhoused. The state of Connecticut is struggling, as is the nation, with housing and homelessness. There is no room in any shelter in Connecticut right now, even for families. They opened a triage unit up down in Norwich, where they can house them in kind of a big room setting so that at least there's a roof over their head. But we are still seeing a lot of that. And then just trying with folks who have been homeless, with folks who have been close to that, some of the case management on that becomes very, very intensive in keeping them housed once you house them. And even though it's not something we're set up to do because we don't have a lot of employees, we have to do it because the bigger agencies just don't have any time to do it. They're not on the ground. And if we're able to keep them housed, that's really the best thing we can do. The other thing that has continued to be a problem since the pandemic is attendance. We still do attendance mentoring. We work, I have to say, working with the Thompson school system is, they're really in there trying to get kids back to school, and they've been great to work with. But we have attendance mentors that go out every morning to all 4 of our youth service towns. And sometimes you're actually waking a youth up, getting them out of bed, getting them to school. But we feel if we can get them to school pretty, pretty regularly, then they do start to go on their own, and we've seen success in that area too. We are using grants from Centerville Bank right now, and we will write another grant. We were kind of waiting to see how attendance looked and if we'd need to be writing another grant. And I think that that's the one that we're going to write again for another 3 years. They've been very generous.
Just one more thing. Have we seen any shift of funds from what the state is proposing for their contributions having to do with the need for, I mean, obviously homelessness is always very important in keeping our seniors and veterans going. But have we seen funds shift because of the immigration and stuff in the state where they're talking about not upping your funding or anything of that nature and shifting that anywhere?
No, I spend a lot of time. That's a good question, Ken. I spend a lot of time with our legislators, making sure that they remember us. Our homelessness money is the money we can raise. The way that we have access, homelessness is funded in hubs now, and our hub would be through Access Agency, but we also work through some of the New London hub and even down as far as Mystic. And we know the agencies that we can get money from to support rehoming people and that kind of thing. So we'll work through those hubs to get money, but we don't directly get money for that. As far as our funding is concerned, we got a wonderful ARPA boost just at the end of the pandemic through appropriations. We got a $200,000 award. I am working right now with May Flexer and Pat Boyd. OPM set it up so that if we were awarded that kind of money again, that it could be used for salaries and for salary increases, or for funding for new staff positions, which is what we were able to do with some of that. I think that you know that social service staff you don't go into social services to make money. So we were able to do that. We want to hold that. DSS gave us a very nice COLA this year, and that is in our contract. We do need to renegotiate that contract starting next year. But so far, knock wood, things are good. And when I also am working with Jeff Gordon, when I talked to Jeff and I talked to May about the COLA and to Pat, they were listening, and both May and Jeff are on appropriations. So I'm really, if we could continue to get that money, that would be amazing. I don't know what.
Okay, just that I know the Board of Selectmen know, but I don't know what the rest of the audience and the Board of Finance is aware of. But the fact that you know that that Teague is working towards the expanding because of the lack of space with everything that is going on, and you're also fighting that as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't know if you would want to touch on that, let them know where you are on this.
On the building, Ken, is that what you're talking about?
The building, how much the food pantries and such demand, the lack of space, you know,
Yeah.
all of these things for the meeting areas.
Absolutely.
You know, that we never thought since 2013 that in 10 years that we would have outgrown it because of the need for the services.
So one of the things that I think is so important, and one of the things that I think has been key, when I came to Teague, Teague has been an amazing organization for many, 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 many years now, 38. And they were doing amazing things. But one of the things that concerned me at that time was that a lot of folks were coming into the food markets, getting food and going. Or conversely, we had a pretty good population that was coming in for fuel assistance, but not using the markets. So we started to try to switch that over. And we now have a case manager in the market every time the market's open. They're at our other markets as well, to try to talk to people about, okay, you're coming in, I've seen you, twice this month. Are you even getting SNAP benefits? Is that happening? Let's get you signed up for SNAP benefits. What's your Medicaid look like? Would you like to have some choices, a choices meeting to talk about where you are on that. Can we help you with your budget and that sort of thing? That started to really pick up, and we have people in the offices receiving that kind of case management help very regularly, in the hope that we can really improve what's going on. The other thing we did on the other end is we started to really work hard to bring families in. And there was, for many years, I think there's been a stigma about Teague. I don't need Teague. I don't need to go to Teague. We have people from all walks of life, all community members now who attend things like some of our evening classes that talk about, they may do a craft, or they may be talking about hoarding. They may do some cooking and learn about that, or they may be learning about budgeting. That's in our one community room, and we have packed that room many times over with a lot of those services. As far as families are concerned, we now have our play group is extremely busy. During Christmas, we move it over to Creation Church because we have Christmas moving into that room. We're flipping that room 3 or 4 times in one day, maybe for a juvenile review board hearing, for the hand in hand moms to come in and meet as a group, for our play group, which sometimes is serving up to 26, 27 families in that room. And then we're flipping it for the next thing that's happening. Our 2 case management offices are often full, and we use our conference room, which is where we also eat lunch, to meet with clients in there as well. So the building is being well used. We have 3 people sharing 1 desk in the back. They're part-timers, but that's a challenge. And what we had hoped to do with this was to just bump out some space on the building to try to expand. And in working with Steve Lewis, who worked on the original building, and working with the group of people who worked on the original building, and looking at setbacks, and Ken, I know you were there, we don't have a lot of room to bump out. And so Steve offered us, I think there was 5 or 6 different choices, 3 of which were standalone buildings. And really only that one space for that one seemed to really serve what we needed to do. I'm overwhelmed by the cost that would be incurring. I'm also very cognizant that running a separate building means a lot more administrating and a lot more oversight. And second building doesn't just run itself with energy-wise or any of those costs. So we're really looking hard at it and at our ability to fund it outside of this area, to write grants that would not incur a cost on the town or any of the towns we serve.
Thank you, Ann, for the job that Teague does.
Thank you. Thank you all. You're all very helpful to us.
Any other questions for Ann or comments? Ann, thank you very much. It was very informative.
Thank you all. Thank you for the work you do.
Okay, we're gonna move to citizens' comments on the topic of Teague. Are there any citizen comments in the room? None in the room. Any on Zoom? Any citizen on Zoom would like to comment? Valerie Clark has her hand up. Valerie?
Yep. Hi, Valerie Clark, Elm Road, Thompson. If I could ask about what the percentage of people served from Thompson in terms of households or citizens is versus the other 2 towns that were cited.
I don't know that I can give you the percentages, but if I give you the numbers of the households or individuals, so, and if somebody else can quickly do the math for me, 174 households, 274 individuals from the town of Pomfret, 183 households, 383 individuals from the town of Woodstock, 675 households, representing 1,629 individuals from the town of Thompson. Is that helpful?
Just doing rough math, it sounds like it's I right? Somebody correct my math, but it sounds like this is like 10% of the town of Thompson. And I'm interested whether that is a larger or smaller percentage than the other two towns.
It's higher than that.
Hey
yeah.
Valerie, it's Bill Steglitz. I think we usually toss around about 9,200-ish for population. So it's about 17%, 17 or 18%.
I want to say, I haven't looked recently. I want to say that the town of Pomfret, last time I checked, was around 4,300. Does that sound right to people?
Don't think we know.
And,
But
and
but
so
your
the,
numbers tend to flow with the dollars that you shared earlier in terms of the magnitude. They
Mhm.
tend to be pretty well proportioned to that.
Yeah,
the 2 points I'm trying to make is, one is that I think Thompson has a disproportionate need compared to the other towns Teague is serving. I also think that in terms of the number of citizens residing in the town, the burden on the taxpayers that remain is higher.
Okay. Thank you, Valerie. Any
If-
other?
If you had a question about my point, my second point, 16 to 17% of the population can't afford food or housing and need services from Teague, and the rest of us need to increase our contributions to the budget. As a result, thereby it's a slippery slope, and more and more and more of us begin to need services from Teague as we increase our budget.
Okay, thank you, Valerie. Any other citizen comments from Zoom? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to item 4B. What about fire department? Thank you, Ann, if she wants to sign off. We're all set. Move on to Quinnipiac Fire Department with Steve Boudreau. Steve, you're welcome to come close and take a seat, or thank you, be closer to the mic.
I was invited. Okay, I guarantee this isn't gonna be as bad as Steve. Okay, you all have the facts and figures in front of you? No, okay,
Yeah, I'm up on the screen.
okay, so, under billing income, that's income for the 3 cell phone tower vendors that we have. And, that's the majority of that is, but the majority of our income, other than the town support. So that's, the actual was 88,963. For 2023, we were level funded for town support. Asking 80,000, we were level funded at 71,200. That was across the 5 departments. And we're asking for 83,000 for this coming fiscal year. Last year, we had a gain of $167,222. So under expenses, I'm not going to go through every single expense, but we had a gain of $72,719. It was a gain. The previous year was a deficit of 141,000. That year we spent upwards of $137,000 for updated SCBA packs. We bought 15 SCBA packs and 1 RIT pack, which came out of our general fund. So that's why there's such a big difference from year to year. this worksheet template that we have listed under capital assets is every single piece of our apparatus, the original cost of the asset. I really don't think we should be worried about that. I think you should be worried about the replacement cost of that. And that's something that's being taken up with the VFIS. Because, well, 2008, American La France, we paid, this is a used piece of apparatus, we paid $420,000 for it. Replacement cost of this today would be upwards of 1.4, 1.5 million. So we're really looking to make sure that our apparatus, even like the 2009 Rosenbauer, which is an engine tanker, we purchased brand new 2009. 300 Hope that wasn't the dog. 325,000. If we replace that now, it'd be 750,000. A list of the capital requests. It's we've been replacing turnout gear. We made a large purchase of turnout gear initially, then we're trying to buy. We said we're gonna buy 5 sets of gear per year, but the people who need it and going through firefighter 1, firefighter 2, get the newer gear, get the brand new gear. So we're putting in 23,000 for that. 5-inch LDH is large diameter hose. We were at a structure fire in Dudley, and somehow 5 links of our large diameter hose vanished. Some other department picked it up. We have no idea who did. So that's a large chunk. We didn't claim it on insurance because it was the older vintage LDH, and we just didn't claim it. The 23 links of 3-inch hose is hose that is tested yearly. It exceeds the NFPA mandate in years, but my thought is we sign a waiver with the testing company. My thought is if it's tested every year, then we should be able to use it. But this is replacement. Because you're either gonna follow NFPA to the letter of the law, you can't really pick and choose. And this isn't something that we asked for, this is a national standard. Under cash and investments, they have here listed the Centerville Bank is our aerial ladder loan. The balance with a balance of 18,398. The rest are in Key Bank. The chief's debit is 4,300. The general fund is 101,800. The building and apparatus fund is 61,000. Donovan Scholarship and the Walker Scholarship. Donovan Scholarship, Chief Joseph Donovan and Captain Joseph Donovan Jr. Scholarship is $5,400. The George Walker Scholarship Fund is $18,500. And rural development was a fund that we used to have money in so we could pay off the loan for one of our trucks. We paid off that loan this year, and that money will be turned over. That account will be closed and moved over to the Centerville Bank. So that balance of $7,600 will be moved into the aerial ladder loan.
Question. if I
Sure.
might. Sorry to interrupt. Amy, can you go back
Yeah, where do you wanna go?
to where the loan was?
Oh,
Just
where is
to
it?
clar-
Here?
yeah, those are balances of cash.
Yes,
So usually when there's a loan, it's a debt. So in this case, you have money set to pay off.
yes,
The
they
loan.
wanted, well, what we
Certainly
do
loan.
is we take usually the 71.2, put it into that account, So that we're supposed to keep roughly $50,000 in that account. We haven't for a long time because we just can't. So, and they understand that. Like I said, Centerville Bank was really helpful with acquiring this loan and enabling us to get this piece of apparatus. So they're kind of lenient about, there's no like penalties,
Penalties,
right? Yeah.
Okay, I understand. It's just when it said loan, it threw me off. and I-
Yeah, it's just money sitting there, so it's
Security.
supposed to be 1 year's worth of payments,
Yeah,
right? Yeah,
security for the bank.
exactly.
Okay. Sorry to interrupt.
No, it's good. That's all I have. If anybody has any more questions.
Well, that does beg the question, if I might ask, what are your liabilities?
What are our liabilities?
Well, those are the cash and investment you have are assets that you have. But sounds like you have some debts.
Yeah, well, I don't have the full number for the ladder, but I know it's upwards of 400,000. And we
Thank you.
pay, well, last year we paid 27,472, but we all know how much of that is principal. So, we paid 2289.34 monthly. And we were paying, 1329 and change for the other piece of fire, but the 2009 Rosenbauer, but we have since paid that off.
So your debts are about 400,000 is what I hear.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions?
Rob,
Any other questions? Yes.
just one question. Maybe I'm just not looking at this properly. Just a question to the chief, or in the income and expenditures, the actual interest earned, bank interest 6,000 in 2020, 6,099. Then it drops to 34,526 and down to, am I missing something there?
Yeah,
I'm not
no,
a banker.
I didn't have an explanation I had the figure, but I didn't have an explanation for it for past years, so I am looking into that.
Okay.
I didn't want to leave it blank,
Yeah.
although, I was just testing you guys.
Well, I think we passed the test.
Yeah, thanks, Brian.
Right.
Not a problem. No, that's fine. It's such a drop off that it's.
It is, right, but like I said, I didn't want to leave it blank, but I didn't really
Okay.
want to put incorrect information also.
All right, if you get a chance before the next time, just, see what it is, but that's fine.
Right,
Thank you.
thank you.
Chief, I missed it up there, but when I saw the amount of cash reserves you had, I mean, is there any opportunity, interest rates have climbed everywhere but savings accounts. So,
Yeah,
even at a 5% rate, you're looking at 10,000 a year on 200,000 in cash. Obviously, you need accessibility to it.
right,
but you might want to look at some high interest bearing accounts that are pretty liquid and you can get to those funds. And that'd be another 10,000 that I'm sure you could
Right.
put to work.
yes,
Yeah, Chief, I just, with the WPCA in Putnam, Centerville Bank has they just did some 6-month CDs at over 5%. That's only 6 months, so it's not like it's locked into a long term.
right,
You
yeah,
can make some quick cash by maybe moving some of that money with Centerville Bank, just something to think about, But it's not a long-term investment, 6 months. I put a good chunk into a number of 6 months ones.
yeah. I mean, we've had CDs in the past and I'm not sure what we've earned on them, but I mean, it's a safe bet and I mean, it's good advice. Thank
It's
you.
really only since the last few years. I mean, it's
Mm.
even CDs, but to Brian's point, even if you had to break it, if you needed the money and you broke it,
Yeah.
you don't get the
Penalty,
5%, but
yeah.
you're not getting it now.
Right.
So it's not, it's not that you can't get to it.
Right.
So
Thank you.
Right.
any other questions for the chief?
Could you scroll down? I'm sorry.
Sorry?
I wonder if you could scroll down on the what the presentation to the income.
Oh,
Yeah,
here, this income?
no, to the net income, I guess, so surplus and
Oh, you
deficit.
want the bottom.
Thank you.
There.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Mhm.
Do you have a question, Steve?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I just wondered to see what it was. I apologize. I don't have a question about it.
Okay. You're a lot of anticipation here. We're waiting.
I
I'm
didn't
sweating.
get the question yet. This is the first time I'm seeing it.
Any explanation why the income from the cell towers? Because one would expect that to be relatively flatline. It seems to really swing up and down quite a bit.
They've increased. They've increased what their rent.
So like it went from the last 4 years, it went from 113 to a low of 76.
Again, the 113, I'm not really sure,
Okay,
but the
been around
the
70,
buildup
80.
of, right, yes. The template that we got, we used an old template, and I'm not sure if this was
Transposed.
it was a working template, but those are the only numbers that I had. I mean, we talked with you and with Orla, well, what Orla gives us and what we got this year may have been a little different, so, and hopefully this is the last year we need to have this, but.
Well, I noticed that there's no town support on the income part of that for that first year.
Yeah,
Oh,
Maybe
don't-
some of the.
yeah, we got it.
2020.
Some of the 113 or 111, I can't read it. 113
yeah, you're right.
actually town support. That's a question.
Yeah.
Let's take that out if we're unsure of it. Any other questions?
What I should have done was taken 2020 out, but I added another column. But I'm not that good with Excel, so it's more aggravating than anything, so I just left it.
Well, this is very clear, so I'm good. I don't have any questions. Any other?
Rob, could I ask a question?
Yes, Suzanne, please.
Steve, do you have financial audits done every year?
Financial audits, no,
Do
it's
you
not
have
it's not every year. We used to have them done by well, I shouldn't say that. We have someone new. And she does. So, okay, yes, we do. I couldn't remember her name, Sherry Montford from,
Would you be able to provide us with a copy of the audit?
absolutely.
That would be
Yeah.
great. That was my question.
You're referring to like an audit report, Suzanne.
Yes,
You want
yes,
the
an audit report.
the audit report that they sent to you.
Yep.
Is that something for you to ask from every town board?
That is something I've been asking from every fire department, actually, each
Yeah.
year. And
Okay.
I usually ask you guys for it. I think you usually provide it.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, hearing none. Thank you, Steve. We'll move to,
Do we have a
yep.
citizens comment on?
well, we're gonna move to
Oh,
citizens
okay,
comment right now. We're gonna move to citizen comment for the Quinnipiac Fire Department section. Please state your name and address.
Alex Blank, 12 Wilsonville Road. I was just wondering, on that $400,000 loan, what's the percentage of interest that they're charging you guys?
I don't have that on my budget report.
No,
I could shoot me an email.
I was just kind of
Like-
curious on the top of my head right now. I'm wondering how much that, because you hear about all the amount of interest gets charged to a town every year.
Yeah.
And all that comes right out of the fund, so I wasn't sure. Just curiosity.
Well, it's probably higher than what I like, but it has the opportunity to get us this truck, so.
It is right now, almost every.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Okay, thank you. Yes,
Jessica Bolte, 1081 Riverside Drive. Chief, do you have any pieces of equipment that are going to need to be retired and purchased sooner rather than later?
Yeah, well, I think NFPA states that piece of apparatus is useful for 20 years. I mean, we have a 1997 engine tank that is, it would be ridiculous to get rid of it. I mean, we have a 1966 forestry that has just turned 8,000 miles on it. Every piece of our equipment is, you know, it's not that they're showpieces, but, you know, like, there's a lot of pride in, we take care of our equipment, and it's just because an organization says that, you know, across the board, every single piece of fire apparatus needs to be disposed of or gone to a different life. It's just not suited for us. You know, so, and it is difficult. I mean, we have a 2009, 2008, and, you know, it's 2024. But, you know, our department isn't special. It's not perfect, but there's other pieces of apparatus in town that need to be replaced before ours. You know, right now, we're all in individual boats as far as what we can afford, what we can't afford. You know, Amy's talked about a fire tax, and basically the departments are on board with that. That'll help, you know, but again, it's, if the town or this fire tax is paying for replacement apparatus, I think that we are low on the totem pole as far as where we stand or where we will be. Okay, there's a chunk of money for your new piece of apparatus, so we do what we can. I'm not saying that we are, you know, stake body trucks and we have the best of the best of the equipment. So, but it costs money, and it's not getting any cheaper. And if anyone is looking to join, we'll take people from Wilsonville Road. We'll gladly take applications.
Okay, any other citizen comments in the room?
Larry, you live in Quinnebog, come on.
I like the recruiting plug here. Any citizen comments on Zoom relative to the fire department of Quinnebog? No citizen comment on Zoom. We're good.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yep. Thanks, Steve. Thank you.
Okay, next item, 4C, building office. That would be Terry Bellman. Terry, the floor is yours.
As you can see on my budget, once he puts it up, I'll wait till it gets up. Okay. For the most part, I have not changed any of the line items. The salary items are determined by the Board of Selectmen and the union contract. My secretary, who is at 28 hours a week for the building department, I used to have for 32. I lost 8 hours to the fire marshal. I was hoping, or I requested to make my secretary full-time in this next fiscal year, which would be a 40-hour week. She had put in a request for an increase to bill for salary increase or hourly rate increase that I support. However, I have no say over whether that happens or not. So in the salary line item, nothing's changed. Going down the rest of the list, I have not increased any of the professional and technical services, affiliations, travel, meetings, telephone, professional services, contracted building official, or printing and publications. They've all remained the same. Under other services, There is one item that I asked for an increase on, was the emergency safety expense, which is what I would use in the event I had to take a building down or deem a building or structure safe after an accident or a fire or whatever it be. I would have to, by law, deal with those with or without money in the budget. And where the money comes from is not really my concern. I just thought it would be a better thing, putting that into a fund that we have at least a balance that we would be able to go to. And my hope was to keep that accruing year to year so that at present, we have a couple of houses I may need to take down on First Street, which, because of the amount of materials in those, could be $100,000. You know, this is a long far cry from that kind of money, but that's what that item is for. Everything else in the budget has stayed the same. No increase requested.
Bill,
Mhm.
question. I believe Terry is asking for really a transfer fund on emergency supplies.
And what is showing here is within his own budget, so these funds wouldn't carry from year to year.
That's right.
So, right,
But correct me if I'm wrong, I thought you mentioned that the money would accrue.
No, I said I would like it to,
Okay.
but it doesn't at present.
No, I know, right.
Okay.
That's what I'm
right,
arguing, right.
yep, that's right.
Just wondering if we should consider it in that category.
I think that's something that the board definitely could consider, because it sounds like, even in my brief time here, we've had years where I think we've gone over, and then we've had years where we haven't spent any of the money. It's really just 100% dependent on right, on what happens, which I'm sure Terry's crystal ball is about as good as mine. You never know.
Right. Just a suggestion. We'll take it up, I assume, at a different time.
Any questions for Terry?
Could you talk
Comments?
about sorry, this is Steve, could you talk about the assistant building official line?
I didn't hear the question. What was that?
Could you talk about the assistant building official item?
Am I talking about it?
Can you talk about it?
Would you talk about it, please?
Would I talk about it?
My question, I guess, is that I see we had a budget for
That's-
15,000 and we've only spent, or expected to spend 2,500. Is that expectation correct, or can you help me understand that?
Well, that number, you actually, Amy would probably be better to address that, because my assistant basically donates his time at present, and he gave up part of that 15,000 that was in there for last year to support a temporary clerk in the building office, which has helped clean up some of the work that we haven't got done because of the busy years since the pandemic. The building department's seen growth that has never seen before in its history. So initially this person wanted to shadow me while he was going through the building official training courses to see if he wanted to become a building official. That never really happened. He never shadowed me. I think he only went on one inspection with me in the last year or so that he's been here. However, I don't know what else you want me to say about that issue, but that's where we are.
Well, I guess that raises for me a little bit of a question. Is the secretary, clerk, or clerk, I guess is cost, does that include the extra money? I'm not sure I understand the extra money that the assistant building official gave up.
Steve, I'd like to, this is Amy St. Ange, I'd like to clarify. Last year during budget season, $15,000 was appropriated towards the building department. To the guys that it would help fund, an assistant building official to assist and relieve some of the load. Upon further investigation, it was determined that maybe, secretarial support, to assist Donna in that office would be best. From what I understand from our fire marshal, Paula has done a fantastic job streamlining, things for the fire marshal. So that projection that you're seeing, and I'm sure that was a big red flag for you, is not correct.
Okay,
The Paula, what we did was we allocated $10,000 towards Paula Cahill, who's been working, as secretarial support for that office. All of her salary should be coming out of that line item, so I'm going to check with finance, with Paula in finance to make sure that that's happening. 5,000 was put aside, to assist in paying assistant building official John Noley, from what I understand, who does a lot of the solar inspections. Is that correct? Solar inspections?
He does several, yeah.
Right. So he works pretty much as a service to the town, but we did want to make sure that we gave him some sort of a stipend. For
Amy, where does that show up? Amy, where does that show up on the?
It's under the same line item, assistant building official. So we put some towards secretarial support and some towards providing some type of funding to John Noley.
Steve, I'll dig in behind that 2,500
Okay,
and also see if possibly if a portion of Paula is hitting another line.
right. It doesn't sound like it. Doesn't seem to jive with the explanation that I'm hearing.
I'd have to go back, but my recollection from last year was that two things were asked. The assistant was asked and more hours for administrative support.
Right.
And the administrative support hours were removed from the budget, and the assistant stayed in. I thought part of it was,
So that could be.
I thought part of it was, succession planning and having somebody there when you're not here any longer. Is that changed too, or do we need to be thinking about long-term what we do? It's a challenge across
It
many
is.
towns in northeastern Connecticut, right? There's
Mhm.
lots of towns and not a lot of building officials.
Right.
Yeah, well, the ones that are my age are falling off the platform. And there aren't very many coming on the platform.
That's right.
So there's gonna be a shortage. There actually is a shortage now, but there's gonna be a greater shortage in the near future, because the process to become a building official has gotten so complicated. And you have to go to school for nearly a year.
Yep.
And 2 days a week, full time, to just qualified to take the exam. And who can do that? They have to work. How do you take 2 days a week off?
Yeah.
So,
Well, that's why I'm raising the question. Is it something that we need to be thinking about? Maybe it's separate from the budget, maybe it's tied to the budget, but we had somebody lined up to shadow and they didn't shadow. That was a really good idea. Should we think about someone else to be shadowing before we're really stuck?
Yeah.
They don't need to answer it now. It's just a question because it's a challenge and you have to not only go to the school, but then you gotta pass the exam. It's a hard exam, right?
it's a very hard exam. The codes have gotten so complicated, it's very difficult for me to keep up with them. And I can't even fathom what it takes the builder to keep up with them. How do they, do what they do and learn all the new stuff? I mean, so it's really up to us to kind of guide them in the right direction, but we can't make it 100% because we don't even know it 100% yet. I mean, it's, they adopt the code like a month before I mean, this year, this last code they adopted after they made it effective prior month to when they adopted it. So I mean, it's like, how do you keep up with that? You know, it's mind-boggling.
Okay, any other questions, Selectmen? Board of Finance?
Rob, I have a question if I could.
Yes, Suzanne.
Terry, how many hours a week is your position?
How many hours is my position?
Yes.
Well, I get paid for 19.99 hours a week. And I agreed to do the job, so I do whatever it takes to get the job done, and I've done that since I came here. When I first started, when Ken hired me, I was part-time, supposedly, but it's a full-time, part-time job. And I'm not complaining because I like it the way it is, so I don't want to change that, you know. And I have, my appointment ends on July 1st, 2026. So I would like to finish out my appointment exactly the way I'm doing it now. Because I've been getting the job done during the busiest times. I don't think that's going to change.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Any other questions? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to citizen comments for item 4C, building office. I'll start in the room. Are there any citizen comments in the room?
Greg Malford, 510 East Thompson Road. I think Don should get some more hours and Terry should stay our building inspector for the rest of his time. He does his job. We don't have people, we don't have problems. We don't have fights with people. We don't have arguing all the time. He's straightforward with us, and that's what I like. So that's all I got to say, but I'm gonna be honest.
Thank you very much. Anyone else in the room? Yes.
I'm Donna Hall, I'm the building secretary, and I was supposed to get an additional 8 hours last year on the budget. But there was a discrepancy and that didn't work, so if I got the additional 8 hours in the building office, it'd make me 32 in the building office and 8 hours for the fire marshal. I think that would be very helpful to our office. So again, it was somehow, there was a discrepancy out of last year's budget. That would help our office immensely this year if it got put into the budget correctly again. And Terry does an amazing job, whether it's 20 hours or 40 hours, he does the job. No matter if it's a house burning down in the middle of the night, if he needs to go inspect the 6th family with the fire marshal, he's there, he does it, he does a good job. And he's the lifesaver to the town, because without Terry, you'd be paying a building official full-time, and it would triple his salary, a full benefits package, a town vehicle. It's gonna cost us all triple. So he's been a savior for the past 7 years, and we should appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Don. I didn't expect that.
That's awesome. Any other?
Why don't we just pump Terry up a little bit? Terry, what? You're 55? Terry, what are you, 55 and you're talking about stopping? Jesus, Terry, you're killing me. Come on.
Brian. Any other citizen comments in the room? Okay, on Zoom, any citizens on Zoom would like to make a comment? We're on building official, building office. Valerie.
Valerie Clark, and the Mutual Admiration Society. Our household has very limited, compared to many other people, interaction with the building office. However, Terry and Donna are amazing, and they make things so simple and so clear in a very complex world, and I appreciate them.
Okay, thank you, Valerie. Anyone else on Zoom have a comment? Citizen comment on Zoom. Okay, hearing none, we'll move on. Thank you, Terry.
Thank you.
We'll move on to item 4D. Eastern Connecticut Land Bank, Wayne Bugden.
I do not believe Wayne is here. I don't see Wayne,
We don't see Wayne.
no, So we could jump,
So that,
because, John Philcheck is here from NECO.
okay, we'll skip Eastern Land Bank and we'll move on to is John covering all three of these items?
Yes.
E, F, and G, okay. We'll go to John, and I think what we'll do here, since they're bundled, we'll do citizen comments at the end of that bundle.
Yeah.
I think that would be smoother. So, John, the floor is yours.
Good evening, and thanks for having me tonight. I've got the NECOG transit, and we'll talk a little bit about the paramedic program. For the programs that you utilize, the basic assessment for NECOG and the basic assessment for transit are unchanged. The only change is reflected with a small population increase that you've gotten between 21 and 22. The paramedic, you'll see a large increase going from $107 per transport before the Day Kimball subsidy to $175 per transport. And let me just try to explain why that occurred. We have used KB Ambulance since 2016 to provide that service regionally. And back in 2016, they KB bid $85 a transport. But for comparison, the vendor that was in place, American Ambulance, was doing the service for $132 a transport. The $85 stayed in place till, I believe, 2020, when it was raised to $105. And then last year, they asked it to be raised $2 to $107. We went out to bid. Last year, we had just one bidder, that was KB Ambulance. They bid $150, $175, and $200 for 3 years. We got into negotiations with them. And the upshot of it is we agreed to the $150 for December 1st to through the end of June, and then the $175 going forward from there. So that's sort of a very brief summary of how that got to where it is. It's still, from what they tell us, not sufficient to cover their actual costs. I'm happy to answer any questions about any of this or anything that NECOG's doing or transit.
John, what's the number of people using the transit now? Do you have an average daily or?
I'd have to get that to you. I apologize. I don't have that.
John, you're killing me. We've been together since '99. You knew this question was coming.
The regular service that runs has bounced back a bit. COVID knocked us down by, we were doing about 80% of what we went off about 82% at our peak. The regular service that operates between 7 and 5 with the fixed schedule has bounced back, but it's still probably 50% to 60%, depending on the route of what it was. The elderly disabled run has not bounced back well at all. It's only doing maybe 20% of what it used to do. And a lot of that has to do with, especially with our elderly folks, they've found alternatives. Now that we've got delivery for groceries and pharmaceuticals and that type of thing, and telemedicine. So that has cut into that to the program quite a bit. And whether it's going to bounce back, is anybody's guess at this point.
I had a question for Bill. Bill, just so I can follow line items, I see here on row 5, the Northeast Transit District. Where would the other 2 items be? Are they
So
other
the paramedic
miscellaneous?
ambulance is actually in the fire budget.
It's in the fire budget.
Yes.
Second page of your packet.
Okay, it's in the fire budget.
And NECOG is in, and then the town dues and memberships under Board of Selectmen is where you'll find NECOG.
Where is it? It's 19.
And I should say that with the paramedic program, it's $175 per transport. The per transport cost to the town will be $115 because Day Kimball is picking up $60 of that 175, which they've done since we began the program in 1998.
And sorry, where's NECOG, Amy?
Under Board of Selectmen. Town dues and memberships, we have marked here NECOG.
That's a different packet.
It's the first page, the very last page.
Last page.
Tonight.
So in figuring out the paramedic services, just to let you know, when I did the calculation, it was roughly going to be about 64% increase over last year's totals. So I took last year's totals and I increased it by 64% with the consent of Mr. Steglitz.
It is exactly, and I've shared that same percentage with the board. That decision was made not to go back out to bid at this time,
Right.
because the feeling was there was really just one vendor that would respond, which is a problem. And and we knew back in 2016 when KB got the contract that they had gone way below what the market truly was. They very much wanted the contract apparently. And so they got it and they stayed there at that $85 figure, probably far too long. And now it's just caught up to them. It's a important, more than important, it's a vital service to have in the region. And it is a bit of sticker shock to see a 64% increase. But I'm not sure how to get around that.
No, they're just, John, this is Amy St. Ange. I just really believed that they were just finally coming up to market value.
They need somewhere, in order to cover their current cost per transport, based on my discussions with them, they should be at about $200 right now, rather than the $150 that they're currently getting. So they are, one would assume by their numbers, they're losing money on every transport, and they're doing, let's see. Last year, there were about 3,800 calls for service and about 2,500 actual transports. So it does get into a large number that they're not covering.
So, John, this is Rob Warge. I may have missed it, but if I understand the 3 categories, the Northeast Connecticut Transit District is 0.9%, relatively flat. You're saying that part of that's driven by a need contraction because people that may have needed to get meds, they're getting them mailed to their house. So that budget's relatively flat. Paramedics is up 64%, largely driven by this market correction in transports. On the NECOG line item, that one's up 57%. What are the main drivers on that one for climbing? Or do I have that wrong?
No, that's wrong because we added back in CCM. Remember.
Oh, okay. So it's not.
So if you take out about 6.
I'll leave that one for Joe, but we've not touched the NECOG assessment.
Okay, something else, that's a bundle. That's a bundle of line
Yes.
items.
Correct.
And NECOG's not driving any of
No.
that 57%.
100.
Sorry, John. I got the answer.
So 100% of that increase is related to the proposed resumption of using
CCM.
CCM.
I got it. Okay, that's clear. Thank you. Any other questions for John, comments?
I do. John, Brian Lynch.
Hey, Brian.
John, you do a fantastic job for our area, and I appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Just if on the paramedic, if they're losing the amount of money that they're losing, do you know where they're making it up, or is this something that we have to worry about down the road, that you just can't keep losing money? You know,
It's something, yeah, exactly. And it's something that we have had extensive discussions with Dave Kimball, because they depend on them to do their hospital transfers now. We have the Killingly, which depends on them to do their basic life support. And then Hampton, Eastford, and Pomfret, they do their basic life support. So they're all intertwined. And they're, they're local, and keeping them healthy or getting them healthy is I think a major priority for all those parties. Because with the contraction in the industry, you saw that American Ambulance was bought by Hartford Healthcare, and they did not bid. Neither did the other two vendors that bid the last time, where we had 4 total vendors bidding. I'm not sure who would do the service if not them. So getting them healthy is a major priority.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, hearing none. Thank you, John. Thank you very
You're
much. Citizen comments on those 3 categories that John just went over? None in the room. Any citizen comments on Zoom? Yes, Valerie?
Yes, Valerie Clark. Did I hear correctly that the funding from Dave Kimball for the increase in the ambulance is flat? Yet the cost went up significantly?
Dave Kimball has, since we began the program in '98, met their percentage, and they've fully committed to meeting that percentage going forward. So, the difference in the fee, when it was $107 in the last budget, they were paying out $36.70 per transport. Going forward in the next fiscal year, they'll be paying $60 to transport. And there's never been a lapse in their commitment to the program.
Thank you. I thought I had heard that they had just been paying 65 all along, so thank you.
No.
Any other citizen comments on Zoom?
Rob, this is Ken.
Yes, Ken.
2 quick questions for John. Brian did raise it about the sustainability with the ambulance, because AMR has bailed out and the pickings are slim to none. If they do fall, we're going to have a major problem. Hopefully we can avert that, and hopefully NECOG will have some discussions with Dave Kimball for maybe some more aid coming from there, considering the cost of what the hospitals are generating, etc. John, what's the current status of the transit fleet? I know the last time I was involved with it, you were trying to get some new buses and stuff. How is that shaped up?
Well, we were back ordered on buses, like a lot of places, where we've got a fairly old fleet, and to our surprise and great thankfulness, we have a new transit director for the state who came out here a few months ago. We discussed that with him, and the next day he offered to provide us 6 buses from another transit district that were slightly used and way newer than anything we have. So those buses are all here. they're in service, and we were able to send the others out to auction, which were, closing in on 300,000 miles and 10 years old. The state has helped us out tremendously on that.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, thank you, John.
Thank you.
Before we move on, Dottie, if you could note for the record, I missed it earlier. Nikki arrived at 7:05. And she's been in the meeting since then. Next up, item 4H, Day Kimball Healthcare at Home. Is Jennifer online?
Yes, she is, and I'm just pulling up the document that she sent.
Jennifer, if you can hear me, the floor is yours. What account, Bill?
It is part of line 15 in the human services budget.
I'm gonna steal the screen to show what they sent to us.
Got it.
Oops, let me check this one. I cannot unmute. Oh.
You want me to stop my share?
Let's just stop on the screen share.
You're sharing.
So.
Yeah.
There you go.
Jennifer is permanently muted.
I don't know why.
Jennifer, where is she?
Everybody else can unmute though. Jen, maybe you can exit and then jump back in and see if that corrects the issue? Or do you just not have a mic?
There's a call-in option too, right?
Right.
So if she has a phone, she can call in and still look at the screen. Do we have that number?
I don't have the number.
It's right here.
She just spoke in the chat.
Oh, she did, okay.
She says, she has a mic and she'll dial in.
Okay. Okay.
Not unmute. I have a mic. I'll dial in. Okay, she can dial in. Why don't we give her a moment to do that?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
We can hear you.
Okay, hold on. My computer now. Okay, sorry about that. I don't know what happened. I couldn't unmute or get my camera going back on.
That's okay. We're glad you're here.
Okay, thanks for having me, everybody. So this year I wanted to reach out again to the board in Thompson to appeal for some additional funding. We have been providing a lot of visits to residents in the town of Thompson essentially for free. We're very challenged because we have a growing population of elders, and many of those elders have very poor socioeconomic status, really poor health literacy, and they are not navigating the healthcare system well at all. So when that happens, we still provide them with service as best we can.
And we do end up putting, a lot of the times we'll put in social work to try to network these patients into different types of community support services. But it does come at a cost to us. And, you know, we're continuing to do it. This past year, we provided about 4,500 visits to residents within the town of Thompson, and 93 of those visits were free care, which is an equivalent value of about almost $10,000. It is a $4,100 increase from the previous year. So we're seeing this happen more, and we predict that it's going to continue to grow over the next, probably at least the next decade, as our population continues to grow. Have you heard of the silver tsunami? Have you heard that? What that is it's as the baby boomers are aging, there's many baby boomers, and there's just not enough support services to help support them. And it's known in healthcare as the silver tsunami. And it's very challenging because you know that in healthcare, we're very strapped with staffing, in particular with nursing, but pretty much every medical discipline, we're really trying to balance things very carefully because there is such a big demand placed on us. So this year, I'm asking for $2,000, which is about half of the cost, a little less than half of the cost of the free services that we provide to your residents. Not only does the funding help with those free visits, but we also do a lot of outreach in the community. We go to a lot of the senior centers. We hold falls prevention clinics and blood pressure clinics, and we've done a lot of presentations in the community about the benefits of palliative care and hospice care, really trying to help people get into the appropriate programs sooner before they're in a crisis situation. So anything that you're able to do is really helpful to us. And I understand that as a town, you're facing a lot of the same challenges that we have with the changing population, and the economy right now is just, it's really challenging. So I'm just asking for you to continue to be our partner and helping us provide these services. That's pretty much it. We do provide nursing, physical therapy, occupational therapy, wound care, transitional care, home health aides, medical social work. We do a lot of service, and a lot of it is, unfortunately, isn't reimbursable by a lot of insurance companies, especially these days. We're just asking for anything that you're able to give us. Certainly be a big help.
Thank you, Jennifer. Are there any questions or comments for Jennifer?
I don't know. That's the first time I've ever been called the silver tsunami.
I know.
I think it may not be the last.
They're called a lot of things in the town of Thompson, but that's the first, but I'll go with it.
It's not unique to Thompson. You know, I don't know.
No, you got my support now.
I do just want to make a comment. I heard on the tail end of the NECOG presentation, you were talking about the ambulance service, and I can, you know, in home care and hospice, I witness the challenges with that entire, the ambulance service and the paramedic service in our northeast corner is incredibly challenging to manage. So for our home health and our hospice patients, we're really having to get very creative in how we're helping patients get the care that they need, especially if they need transport. And it has really been challenging, especially for our hospice patients who aren't actually, like, they're not an emergent situation, but they have a benefit where they can come into the hospital to have a respite, or if their symptoms are unmanageable at home, they're able to come into the hospital to be provided what's basically hospital level of care to have their symptoms addressed and managed. And we're having such a hard time getting ambulance service for those patients. So it's really challenging. So my heart goes out to you and the ambulance providers. And, I think as the quiet corner, working together is really necessary to help with that. So I just had to comment on that because it just really hit home when I heard you guys talking about that.
Yeah, no, it's an excellent comment, Jennifer. Thank you for that.
Jennifer, this is Ken. How much of an impact is COVID still having on your system with what you deal with?
In home care, I mean, it's pretty much a part of everyday life right now. Where the challenge that we have, it's not necessarily caring for the patients, it's our staff. Because when they're infected, they have a certain period where they can't be coming to work. And when we're already very limited with our staffing resources, it makes it very challenging to manage the patients with when your staff can be, some days we have 4 or 5 people out at any given time, and we're triaging patients all day long every day. And it's incredibly challenging from that perspective. And it's just a lot of our employees are working moms and they have school-age children. And then, it's everything that we hear about on the news, the challenges that, we're all facing right now. It's incredibly challenging. And as a smaller healthcare system, a lot of the staff will go work for the bigger healthcare systems, even outside of our own community. So it's wonderful that, in Thompson, you were able to put together that CNA program to bolster the healthcare services that we have here in the Northeast corner. And I think that's going to be, moving forward, is going to be the wave of the future for us. That's what we're going to have to do to keep our community healthy, to keep the young people in our community working in our community. I just think it's, a great thing that you've done. But we have a long way to go before we have a stable situation in terms of our staffing resources for all disciplines, and we got to start somewhere. So.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, thank you, Jennifer. Much appreciated. Any citizen
Thank you very
comments
much.
in the room? None here. Any citizen comments on Zoom? This would be on the topic that Jennifer just shared, Dave Kimball Healthcare at Home. No citizen comments. Okay. Hearing none, we'll move on to our next item, United Services. And if Emily's there, you have the floor, Emily.
Hello, thank you so much for having me. So I do have a short PowerPoint presentation.
Oh,
If I
okay,
could-
let me let you share.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Zoom could just get out of my way and then I could start the show. There we go. All right, so thank you so much for having me tonight. My name is Emily Morrison. I'm the Director of Development at United Services. I've been at United Services for almost 10 years. And I'm also the Prevention Services Division Director, so I oversee our suite of prevention services. So United Services is a comprehensive nonprofit certified community behavioral health clinic. We operate more than 30 programs under one administration, including outpatient mental health for adults, children, and families, substance use treatment, including medication-assisted treatment for alcohol, opioid, or tobacco use disorders, crisis services, domestic violence programs, parenting programs, prevention programs, and an array of specialized services for business and industry through our employee assistance program. We cover 21 towns in northeastern Connecticut, encompassing all of Windham County, so including Thompson, and a few towns in neighboring New London and Tolland counties. In FY23, 23, we provided more than 102,000 units of service to more than 3,700 unique people in Northeastern Connecticut. I've got rundown of some of the numbers by program. But in snapshot, I heard a previous question about impact from COVID. We are still continuing to see it. And pre-COVID, agency-wide, we're up about 25%. And we've held steady there the last really 2 years. We weren't so sure of the numbers 2 years ago in FY21, but it's basically been steady since FY21. So we don't really see these numbers changing. I think this is kind of where we are now. So we continue to see more and more people reaching out for help. New people interacting with our programs continues to be high. And then, we're providing people, helping them get stabilized and fitted with the best level of care for them. Some things that are new for us, in September of 2023, we were certified as a certified community behavioral health clinic. This is a federal standard. It's really the gold standard for behavioral health care. So we received a $4 million Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration grant in September of 2022 to work toward and then continue to maintain this federal standard. So there's literally 100 pages of criteria to meet this standard. And it really centers around care coordination. So that is where we have bulked up. So you'll see a picture of our staff there. All but 2 of those were new hires under the CCBHC grant, all performing care coordination activities. So it's really been a great addition to our programs, helping people to navigate the health and social service system. We love it. Our clients love it. Other providers such as Generations and Dave Kimball love it because we want people to be able to get the healthcare that they need. And when they can't, because they can't navigate the health system, that's a failure. And now we have staff that are helping people make appointments, helping people keep appointments, and continue to get better on their path to wellness. We also added an integrated primary care program. So we were licensed by the Department of Public Health in November. We started seeing patients in January. It's been a slow rollout. So we're still very much, this is obviously a brand new, completely uncharted service system for us. So we're definitely still navigating the waters. We're only open to existing United Services clients. So we had applied for a congressionally directed spending allocation, co-sponsored by Senators Murphy and Blumenthal, to start this program. And we started it because only 24% of United Services clients could identify a primary care provider in our health record. We see a lot of people who use urgent care centers or Dave Kimball's emergency department as their primary care. And that's not a good way to achieve wellness. That's not a good use of our health resources. So we don't want to duplicate services. Individuals that have a relationship with their primary care provider, we want to connect you with our care coordinator to help you if you end up seeing a specialist or helping you to keep track of your appointments. But if you don't have a primary care provider yet, then we would love to get connected with you and help you reach, monitor things like your blood pressure, your cholesterol, help you quit smoking. So we're excited about it, and it's growing bit by bit as we're learning it. So now, the main reason I'm here. So each year, United Services makes a request, a per capita request for each of its 21 towns. We base it off of now the FY20 census of 70 cents per capita. We raised it in 2022, and that was the first time we'd raised it. I actually don't know the number, but it was a long time. So this is a partial listing of services delivered to Thompson residents in FY23, and it actually goes on to 2 pages. So the total services was 213. That's almost exactly what you've seen the last 2 years. The last year was 236. The year before was 232. So we're down ever so slightly, but basically steady. And the number of services is just about steady too. We're looking at a difference of about 100 services between the 2 years. But when you compare that to FY19, you're at 179 residents. So you're up about almost 19% pre-COVID, which is standard for what we're seeing across our agency and in many of other towns. Just going to go back here. So some of the services that are new or newer are our crisis response engagement and stabilization team. So that program started in FY '21. And so that's providing people with follow-up services following an interaction with our crisis team. So you'll see we interacted with 22 Thompson residents and delivered 306 services last year. It's a very innovative program. We stay with people for 6 months after a crisis event or a hospitalization, and helping them to engage in the correct level of outpatient care, and prevent them from things like returning to the emergency department or returning to experiencing a mental health or substance use crisis. Hospital coordination is also one of our new programs. So we've got one Thompson resident from last year. I'm sure we'll see more this year. And forensic services is another new one. So you may have heard of State Representative Brian Lanew's project Crisis with all caps. That's a police partnership between state police and social service agencies. So we are the partner in Troop D, and we will soon be the partner in Troop C. So it started with a pilot program in Troop E out of Montville and was extended up to Troop D in 2022, and it's expanding to Troop C. Supposed to be 2023, but we're still in the process. So we're working with state police out of Troop D, Killingly Police, Plainfield Police, Putnam Police, and Coventry Police. I think I've got everybody there. And so, as part of our crisis team, whenever there is a 911 or a police response call that requires some mental health or substance use assistant, we're always responding alongside the police, and that hasn't changed. But this provides some more regular follow-up specialized services. So our team is meeting with the departments at least once a week and going through cases where, on Thursday night, they were called out to a home. Everything was fine. There was no action that was needed. And from a police perspective, but the police officer at the scene felt that that family needed some mental health or substance use or domestic violence or social service support. And in that case, they can send us a referral right there, right then, and we'll follow up the next business morning. Or if they feel it's a less urgent issue and something that might take a little more explaining, they can wait till their weekly meeting with us and explain a little bit more of what they've seen. And then our staff will reach out and try to connect with the family, with the household, and identify what they can need. So we served 5 Thompson residents with this program last year. It's a really great program. You may have heard Putnam Police boasting about it. The way Chief Chris Carassi describes it as when you call 911, you get a cop, but you don't always need a cop. And this program connects people to what they really do need. So, as I said, we do a per capita request. So it's based off your 2020 census total, which was $9,189. So that total is $6,616.08. So it matches state funding for programs such as child abuse and trauma treatment, youth violence prevention, as well as our domestic violence program, and any other support services that are really critical to helping us to get people what they need. So transportation is one of our biggest whole areas that things like town funding and our fundraising dollars can help us cover. So if there's an individual that can't get to their appointment and it's really an emergency situation, that transportation cost is something we look for town support dollars to cover. It usually more shores up programmatic things, especially our domestic violence program. That's an area that's typically underfunded. So helps us to kind of fill the gaps there, as well as individuals who are seeking our services and needing some help with co-pays is another area that we turn to our fundraising dollars. We don't use town funding for any administrative or non-direct service program costs. And just a final note, you see a lot of headlines about mental health being a priority, children's mental health being a priority in the state of Connecticut. We want to be very clear that there have been no additional resources devoted to Northeastern Connecticut. The largest resources have been devoted to areas, the population centers. So DCF's largest investment has been in urgent care centers. The nearest one to us is in New London. Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services has increased their crisis capacity in terms of respite and emergency crisis centers. The nearest one to us is Bridgeport. So there are not additional resources that have come to Northeastern Connecticut. We continue to weather the storm here and be here for you. And I think that's it for me.
Excellent. Thank you, Emily. Any questions from the group? Anyone online?
Valerie Clark.
I got one second, Valerie. I haven't moved to citizen comments yet. I'm just asking for the Board of Selectmen or Board of Finance, but we'll definitely get to you. Anyone from either board have any questions or comments for Emily? Okay, we'll move to citizen comments. Any in the room? No, none in the room. We'll move to Zoom. Valerie, you're up.
Yep, how many unique individuals were served in Thompson? You have a count of 213 services received in various categories.
No, 213 residents.
Right. How many unique individuals?
That is the unique total.
So only one category per individual.
Yes. Thank you for bringing that question. Yes. So many people who interact with our programs interact with United Services, do interact with multiple programs. When we pull this report for towns, we pull an unduplicated report. So we only count people with the cost center that they are identified in first with our agency. So you're absolutely right. The totals, that's why it says partial listing of services. So there probably were many other people that were in, say, adult outpatient services, but if they interacted with our crisis team first, that's where they would be counted. So it is 213 unduplicated people, and the totals is based off of where they saw us first.
That's helpful, thank you. And what are the total estimated costs of the entire 213 people's services last year?
Oh, I definitely can't answer that. Every program varies cost dramatically, and we get grant funding for nearly all of our programs, and the grant funding covers nearly all of the costs of the programs. And things like adult outpatient services, we also bill insurance. 72% of individuals that utilize our agency either have Medicaid or Medicare for their primary insurance. So we receive a lower rate from those insurers, which means then that we look to our grant dollars to cover the full cost of delivering that service.
Thank you.
Any other citizen comments? Thank you, Valerie. Any other citizen comments on Zoom? Okay. Hearing none, we'll move on. Thank you very much, Emily.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Next up is item 4J, CCM, and that would be Joe DeLong. Is Joe on? Okay.
I am. Thank you. So let me begin just again by thanking all of the committee members and also thanking the residents who are on tonight. I'm Joe DeLong. I'm the Executive Director and CEO of the Connecticut Conference of Municipalities. And if I could just go back to a year ago, because I think it's important to start there. There were 169 cities and towns in Connecticut. 167 had passed budgets to place CCM in their budgets. One of those towns we knew was not going to have us in the budget. We had somewhat written that off a long time ago. And the other community was Thompson. And it sort of caught me off guard a little bit at the time. So I made sort of an executive decision that was a little unusual. I don't know that we've ever necessarily done this before, but I made the executive decision to continue to treat Thompson as a member this year and offer our suite of services in the hopes that we would get to where we are tonight, which is me having the opportunity to kind of come and plead the case and talk about, what we do for our communities, and more specifically, what we have done over the past few years, or at least in my time here in the most recent history for Thompson. So with that being said, you do have a somewhat of a list of services thing that we had presented to the committee I don't know if you wanted to share that tonight, but I'm really going to spend my time on the first couple bullet points, if that's okay. And we're trying to get to it, but let me just talk. Let me talk specifically. I say it's a little upside down, so it's not really that huge of a deal. But let me just talk specifically about.
Sorry.
Yeah, no worries.
I
About
saw
the.
that. It's clicking out.
Here we go. There we go. So what I want to spend a little bit of time on, if that's okay, and I promise I'll try to be brief because I know that you've had a long evening, but I want to talk a little bit about the first couple of bullet points because I think they're really important and really get to the core of some of the work that CCM does that a lot of people may not be aware of. The first one having to do with the American Rescue Plan. Let me start off by saying, if CCM were not involved, the American Rescue Plan would have still passed. There's no question about it. We were not that large of a juggernaut that we are responsible for the passage of the American Rescue Plan. But I can tell you that if not for CCM, Thompson would have received about 1/3 of the money that it received through the American Rescue Plan, had it not been for our very direct, not only advocacy, but actually crafting a carve out in the bill that brought the town an additional $1.8 million. And let me explain how that worked. Early on in the pandemic, the federal government passed a bill called the CARES Act. Many of you probably remember the CARES Act that sent a significant amount of funding to states as well as some entitlement communities. The entitlement communities essentially being the large urban centers. In Connecticut, that's really, Bridgeport, Hartford, very limited list. The rest of the money actually went to the states. Under the CARES Act, the U.S. Treasury sent a set of guidance to the states recommending that the states shared about 40% of that CARES Act allocation with its localities. In Connecticut, the state shared somewhere between 1 to 3% of that allocation, depending upon how you look at it. I would argue it's closer to 1% of that allocation with local governments, despite the Treasury guidance suggesting that it spend 40. This didn't necessarily sit well. Connecticut wasn't the only state that did that. This didn't necessarily sit well in Washington, D.C. So there became discussions very quickly about what was going to be the second round of funding during COVID. That second round of funding that ultimately became the American Rescue Plan. And one of the comments that was happening quite a bit on the Hill at that time, the Republicans were actually in control. An election kind of switched that. It was mainly the Georgia election during this process, but Senator McConnell's office and others were having conversations about that if or when there was another round of funding, that there would be a portion of those funds that would be allocated for localities, not the states. However, in DC, when they talk about localities, they mean county governments. NACO, the Association of County Officials, very powerful on the Hill. So we knew that there would be a local allocation in whatever new plan came forward. And we knew that local allocation would be set for counties, not municipalities. This is what happens in DC every single time they do this. One of two things. The most likely thing that happens is that Connecticut just doesn't get any funding because we don't have any county governments. We see that happen all the time. We see it happen in grant funding. It happened quite a bit up to this point. Or the other thing that could potentially happen is that a state like Connecticut that doesn't have any local government or any county governments, the federal government will allocate that money to the state to do with it as it sees fit. We already knew based off of the CARES Act that if the state got the funding, they weren't going to share it with local governments. So we built a pretty strong coalition, which is hard to do when an issue really only impacts your state. But we called in favors, worked with other municipal leagues, worked with the National League of Cities. I spent quite a bit of time talking with the Ways and Means Committee and people at that time from Senator McConnell's office, as well as others, with the idea that when they passed whatever their next round of funding was going to be, if there was a county allocation in there, that in the case of Connecticut, that we would have a carve out and that county allocation would be divided amongst our cities and towns. Long story short, after a lot of late hours, bumps in the road, many challenges, the language that went into ARPA as it applies to Connecticut was literally written around the dining room table in my house with some lawyers and others in communication with the federal government. We got that proviso put in there. And instead of Thompson getting $900,000 from ARPA, you got 2.7 million, an additional $1.8 million. Your allotment of the portion of county funds was literally double what your allotment was as a non-entitlement community. I point that out because it's, you know, I think it was important tonight listening to so many important groups seeking funding, necessary and critical funding, and even talking about how important that the ARPA dollars were to the work that they do. Imagine trying to do that work with $1.8 million less. I also pointed out, because when it comes to our dues, which have not increased for Thompson in 11 years, that 1.8 million in additional revenue, if you want to look at an ROI, that amounts to 300 years of the dues that you are currently charged by CCM. So for me, is it a bragging thing? Yes, but it's also something where I just like people to know that these are some of the things that we do for our communities that that they're often not even aware of, and things that we do very directly. Last year, we built a coalition with several stakeholders, including groups like Faith Acts for Education, as well as education groups, as well as others, and actually did a fairly significant media advertising campaign to get an extra $60 million in the budget for education funding in ECS. That comes out in the second bullet point in this. The Thompson's allocation of that funding that we got built into last year's budget is about $44,000. That is money that's in jeopardy this session. The governor actually has put forth a proposal to scale that back or to take that money back. We actually were part of a press conference last week at the State House, kind of outlining that fight that we plan to make sure that we preserve that funding for our members. And you had a resident earlier today who talked about mandates. We literally work to fight back an additional anywhere from 150 to 200 mandates during many legislative sessions. Just last week, we were part of an amicus brief filing down in Old Saybrook to try to get a mandate that's in statute lifted that has to do with legal notices. Oral arguments were done last week because we haven't been able to get the legislature to move on that battle. We actually are now part of a court battle to make it happen. And there's several other mandates that we fight back on. Now, I say all those things with one realization in mind that maybe you have thought of, or maybe you haven't. I can't do advocacy work at the State House or the federal government and only represent my members and carve out my non-members. So, you know, the money that we advocated to get for our towns and cities in Washington, D.C., if you weren't a member, you would have gotten it, because I couldn't have said, send it to every city and town in Connecticut but Thompson. The same thing at the State House. The power of our advocacy comes from the collective, from all of our members being together and sticking together. But I also recognize as a CEO that we have to have return on investment in other areas for our members other than just advocacy. And so what you'll see in this report, just in the last year, we've had employees of the town who have attended over 10 unique workshops and trainings on best practices in a variety of areas. We've done several research requests for town employees, which allow towns to make decisions that keep them in a competitive posture. A lot of times those research requests come around the areas of labor and what light communities do in specific circumstances. And we also offer a wide variety of programs, one of which is our Certified Municipal Official or Connecticut CCMO credentialing, that currently one member of the employee of the town is actually registered and working through our CCMO credentialing. So there are a variety of things that we do outside of advocacy, but certainly the financial return on investment to our communities can be defined in a direct dollars and cents way with our advocacy successes over the past few years. So I know I rushed through a lot of that quickly, but I'm also sensitive to your time. So I'm happy to stop there. Again, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to be here tonight, and would love to answer any questions that anyone has.
Thank you, Joe. We'll start with the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Finance. Are there any questions or comments for Joe? Questions or comments from either board?
I do have a comment. I've been involved with some of their programs in the past, and I think they've been very helpful, just helping me understand government when I first got involved. So I know personally they were very helpful. And I think to some degree, we are one of 169 towns in Connecticut. We need to do our share. And I think that's kind of what I'm hearing Joe talk about. We need to do our share, and that's being part of that organization.
This is Ken. I've used, many researches and different things over a few years. They've always been very beneficial. You call them, they'll get people to talk to you. And one of the things, being a member of CCM going back, several years, they were striving to get to 169. They finally did. And obviously, if the more united you are as a group, the more impact you will have at the state. We were part of CCM. At one point, we were part of the small towns as well. And we dropped out of both of those. And, it is nice to have a voice to go to the Capitol when they have their meetings and meet with our legislatures, et cetera, and plead our cases as to what we need. So they do make a definite impact, and it is well worth being there. Plus, Kermit was one of our options for the insurances for the town as well.
Thank you, Ken. Anyone else by the board? Okay, if there's no other comments, I'll open it up for citizen comments in the room. There are none. Are there any citizen comments online under the same topic of CCM and what Joe just presented? Okay. Thank you very much, Joe. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Have a great evening.
You too. Item K, other budgets as needed.
So the only thing I thought, Mr. Chair, was potentially since we have the sheet, the fire departments, there were some items, rather than just, I know all the fire departments haven't presented yet, but I thought maybe since we're here, we could just go through some of the line items. That way it's done.
Sure. Will the other fire departments be
On Thursday.
on Thursday? Okay. Maybe best for you to walk us through it, or Bill? Okay.
Sure.
Can you put it on the screen for the homers? The Zoomers.
Skip didn't join, did he? Skip, he didn't join.
Oh, no, but did Wayne join?
No.
Okay,
No.
so we just leave that one open.
Yeah, I
Perhaps,
mean,
or
we
skip
could, we could talk about what the request was. Did everybody, well, we'll get to that. So under items or line 7, it says fire sirens 911, that's QV dispatch. They've held pretty steadily with very nominal increases over the last few years. This year, they are looking at a 17.69% increase. I believe that could be associated with some upgrades to their communication system. But they're looking for 34,000. That's relatively non-negotiable. There is no other dispatch service out there. QV is at. Connecticut Water, they are currently before Pura looking to increase regular consumer rates by 18%. They have decided that amongst municipalities, they would not increase more than 5%. So the projection for the coming year would be a 4.83% increase over last year. Fire departments will skip. Putnam Ambulance Service, so the contract for Putnam Ambulance will be looking at paying $262,052 in the coming year. That includes not a discount, but $35,000 towards the 2 ambulances that they purchased from the town. Let's see, immunizations and physicals. That was something we added last year. I did send a reminder to the chiefs because I'm sorry.
Sorry, if you don't mind backing up on the ambulances. So you're saying that that number would be 262 plus 35?
Correct.
Had it not been for that.
Correct. They purchased 2 ambulances. The first was purchased for $100,000, but they pay us $20,000 per year, or they take off $20,000 per year for 5 years. The second ambulance is $15,000 over 4 years. So they've paid a total of $160,000. If you recall, we had purchased the ambulance for $168,000. The third ambulance being hopefully going to auction soon, and hopefully we can make our money back in whole.
That's great. We don't need to get into it now, but Bill, is there anything we can do to soften that climb out of it over time? Just something to think about. Like once those credit, let's call them credits, once they expire, we're gonna see a 1-year jump of
Exactly. We're gonna see that, yeah.
$30,000. We can avoid that and do a soft climb out of it. It might help us. I don't know what that means. It's easy to say, but sorry, Amy.
No, that makes that. I totally agree with.
Rather than taking it all in 1 year, we can climb out of it over a time horizon.
Firefighter physicals, I did reach out to the chiefs. This past year, we had added this into the budget. I have a contract with ProHealth Physicians. It's $100 per firefighter. That includes spirometry testing, which is testing of lung capacity, etc. I don't believe the chiefs completely understood that this had been put in place in this budget. So currently no dollars have been spent, but I am in conversation with the chiefs in regard to it. And whether or not they're gonna still need the 6,500 next year. It is supposed to be annual physicals, and OSHA is tightening up their standards on the fire department, so I'm assuming this is going to be something we're gonna need to keep in year after year. Volunteer fire insurance, we do cover all of their insurance on their apparatus and their buildings, and we're sticking with the 12% increase there, which is what has been recommended by our insurance carrier. Mandated OSHA testing, I kept that the same.
Sorry,
Yep,
Amy, have we tested that? That's a large climb.
the 12%.
Yeah, we gone to market to, I mean, it's $100,000 item.
They will be, that's just the projections. We won't know until
Trying to think when it was
Late
finalized
April?
last year, because I was gonna say March, so probably late April.
But are we getting multiple bids? Are we going to market with it? Yeah,
Yes.
okay, good.
Yep.
So that's just a placeholder then?
Correct.
Okay.
And then mandated OSHA testing, I'm going by Bill's projection and past years and just keeping it at 20,000. Like I said, OSHA is tightening up their standards, set to be published in the coming year. So probably best to keep that line item the same. Last year, we did have a new vendor for emergency reporting software. That is what the departments report to, and Jamie, our fire marshal, sends those reports to the state. He did recommend just keeping it at that same amount, so keeping that amount flat. Paramedic ambulance, as we discussed when John Filchak was here, it's roughly 64%. An increase, it's just getting to market standards. So I just took last year's number and increased it by 64%. And then we have travel for the burn officer, and then wages for the burn officer, annual stipend. So That's pretty much it.
Thank you, Amy. Any questions around all the items less the fire department grants? Good. Anything else under other budgets as needed?
Did you want to touch upon the requests that came in from Eastern Connecticut Land Bank? Back here someplace. Did everybody get the letter sent to you?
I think we got it, but I lost it in the. somewhere.
Yeah.
You did receive it, Brian?
Yeah, we don't need to touch on it.
Okay.
That's me.
Anybody else, anybody else's thoughts? They're looking for 5,000 last year. We donated 3,950.
They're looking for 5,000 last year.
1,050 increase.
5,000 this year they're looking for this year. Last year we contributed 3,950.
So it's 1,050.
Okay. Unless Steve or anyone else can, or Suzanne want to, do any of you want to go deeper into that? If not, I'm kind of with Brian. Okay, sounds like everyone's satisfied, Amy, with this.
I'm good for now.
Say again?
It's Suzanne. I'm good for now.
Okay, thank you. Any other budgets as needed? Great. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay. 8:17. Adjourn. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.